Good morning, everybody. I'm here with the amazing psychic Liz Cross. How are you doing today?
Feeling amazing. Thank you. I know you're all looking forward to this one. Mark Carney.
Yeah, so we're going to probe the current Prime Minister of Canada and maybe some of his affiliations as well. We have a ton of questions from our Patreon. So if you want to be a member with us and participate in these probes, you can make requests. You can put your questions in for probes like these. You need to become a member with us. A few dollars a month. You can head over to Patreon/remote viewing and beyond, and you can join us there. Our community is great also. You'll also be able to see the second part of this video. This can be a part one, part two video. So we hope to see you there on the other side. I also have a tip jar. If you appreciate the work that I do and the research that I do, please consider supporting me through my tip jar. A few dollars here and there goes a long way. I do thank everybody that has supported me in the past, and I hope you will continue to do so. Thank you very much. All right, so let's get into this probe without further ado. I've got a few individuals to bring in here. So obviously we're going to bring in Mark Carney.
I've got him.
Okay, we're also going to bring in Klaus Schwab.
Oh, oh dear.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's not a nice guy, as we probed him earlier before. And we're going
All
to bring
right.
in President Jinping.
Oh,
Yeah,
this is getting interesting. Okay.
interesting. So let's start off with some questions here from the audience. Now, the other thing that I wanted to do too is to bring in someone on the other side. I'm not sure who to bring in who would be unbiased in this. I wonder, could you ask my master team if bringing in the founding fathers of the United States, would they be biased in these, concerning Canada?
Would they be biased? No, they wouldn't be biased. I've got Queen Elizabeth II stepping forward as well.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Let's do it. So,
Just to say, okay, mind probes can be extremely difficult for people to handle emotionally because they are so raw, real, truth meter, etc., etc. Okay, if you can't handle this probe emotionally, please, it's okay. You can skip this video. There's plenty of other things to choose from.
yeah. So let's ask Mark what he thinks about the oil industry in Canada. Currently, we're sending oil to Saudi Arabia, but we're buying oil from Saudi Arabia. Uh,
Mhm.
Saudi Arabia, sorry. Can we not just build a pipeline from west to east instead of shipping it across the ocean? What does he think of that, of bringing it back to Canada?
Okay, so what do you think about the oil issues in Canada? Who? Well, first answer, he wants to go all electric and shut down oil completely.
Yeah.
Um,
So he's a big, like his background for people that
oh,
don't know, he originally worked for the UN way back when, and he was, their climate advisor or something like that.
oh,
And he's had multiple positions where he's had that role. So he's very, 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 very part of the climate agenda, if you will.
mm,
So he's all for, making everything electric. So that makes perfect sense. So good thing you clicked in on that. So that makes sense.
I did not know that about him. I don't know anything about him, and that's a good thing. Okay, so what do you think about Canada buying or being supplied by Saudi Arabia? He wants to shut them off too. What do
So
you
what?
mean shut them off? He wants to listen. He's done with the oil industry.
Yeah. So what does he plan to do to the oil industry in the western part of Canada over
What
his
do you
term?
do with the oil industry in the western part of Canada? Put it out of business.
Now, can we ask the founding fathers, how realistic is that over the next 40?
Um, how realistic is that? Oh, how realistic? It's very realistic. Like this guy, he's tough. Okay, I feel that so strongly, and he will do whatever it takes to that goes in line with his agenda.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
will he shut down the or is it the oil production in
oil,
Western
oil and
Canada?
gas industry, we could call it.
Oil and gas industry in Canada. He's definitely going to reduce it by how much? Ooh, by a big percentage, maybe 50, 60%. What about
Yeah.
all those people that end up out of work? He's going to pay them to stop working. So will he just pay them to stay home? Pretty much. I mean, they're not going to get the amount of money that they would get if they were
Oh
working.
no, 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 no.
And
Yeah.
he says, well, if they find jobs, that's on them. But he's not going to have Canada be this hub of pollution. He is not going to allow it. He wants to get away from all oil and gas. And how do you intend to provide electricity and provide things for the country? He wants to go, you say solar, he's going to try to initiate some solar energy program. Okay, so are you saying that you're going to have an initiative where everybody in Canada can have solar panels for their houses? That would be his ideal outcome. Is it going to happen? I'm getting a no.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but I know Canada is a very cloudy place in a lot of places
Well,
because
you,
we have,
you are Canadian.
I am
You would
Canadian. So
know.
at least where I'm from, it's very cloudy for most of the year. And I just don't see, first of all, how are you going to get everybody to have a solar panel? Second of all, how are you going to make that, non like redundant from breaking down, the system breaking down, because we just don't have a lot of sun per capita, for most of the country. It just seems like a bad idea. Now, if you remember recently, Liz, we did a probe on a blackout that happened in Spain and
Mm.
Portugal, there are a few countries around that area, and I believe it was Spain or Portugal, I can't remember which country. They recently turned their entire grid over to renewable energies. And what
Yeah.
happened? They had a gigantic blackout, right? Because they did it very quickly. They, within a year or months or something like that, they converted everything over to solar and renewable energies. And that system is, you would call it very centralized. So it means, if anything goes wrong, the whole system goes down pretty quickly.
Oh
You
no.
know what I mean? So
And
if
sorry, but people, because of the weather as well in Canada, the
you don't want
cold,
that happening in Canada,
Jesus,
you know
it's
what I mean?
so
Like,
cold. I don't know how people would heat their homes.
so if that happens in Spain and Portugal, I'm assuming that it's not going to be that bad weather-wise, right? But if it happens in winter Canada when it's -40 and suddenly we have these gigantic blackouts because you know, because this guy decided to put in renewable energies 100% or 50% or whatever it is, that seems like a really big kind of black swan that could happen. Um,
Ooh.
so so how realistic is his plan to move to 100% renewable energies, or is that his
Okay.
plan?
How realistic? It is definitely his plan.
Mm.
How realistic is it? What percentage? About it. So by the time he's finished, 10% will have shifted onto renewable energy. Okay. Which
Okay.
is still quite a lot for Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. That's a big shift for sure. Um, okay. Can we ask the founding fathers, is there any risk to the grid over the next 4 years because of these changes?
I think there are any risk to the grid over the next 4 years because of these. Yes, they will suffer blackouts, and you don't want to suffer a blackout in the wintertime, just like you said.
Yeah.
Um, so let's ask him, how do you think people are going to heat their homes? How will they heat their homes? See, he's saying like firewood. And I'm saying,
Well,
isn't that like that's
I think it's
pollution as well?
yeah, that's funny because I haven't been keeping up with what's going on, but before I left, there was a ban on like wood stove ovens in certain areas. So you couldn't even heat
Really?
your home. Yeah, because they want you to use, they didn't want you to burn wood, right? They want you to use their power that's going off the grid. So how does he
Mm.
expect to do people to do that if it's frowned upon to have those types of apparatus?
How do you expect people to do that if it's frowned upon? Well, in times of emergency, they are allowed to use wood.
Okay. Okay. So let's
I
see here.
just don't think he has a full plan together yet.
And really, okay.
What about
So
backup generators? That too. So are you going to supply every home with a backup generator? That's impossible.
hmm,
And again, all of these ideas, let's ask him who's going to fund them? The taxpayer. There you go.
yeah. So he's a former Bank of Canada employee. So, I mean, it's a central bank. What do central banks do? They print money. What happens when you print money? It's basically an unseen tax on the people. So
Mm.
when, earlier when he said, we're going to lay off Alberta's oil and gas industry to some extent, and we're going to pay them to stay home. I mean, that where is that money going to come from? That's tax money, right? So, who does he think is going to pay for all that? Is that coming from taxes?
Who do you think is going to pay for all of these environmental changes? There's going to be heavy taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. You mean on the people? He's saying not only on the people, but heavy, heavy corporation tax.
Hmm. Okay, well I have to ask another question there. Then does this drive business out of Canada over his term?
This is drive business out of Canada. It does. It does. It starts to, they start looking to India, is what I'm getting. They start looking to things that can be produced. Now, what they're saying to me is the lumber industry. What are you saying about the lumber? Because do they have a big lumber industry in Canada? I feel that they
Oh
do.
yeah.
This is what,
Oh
okay,
yeah.
that's why the founding fathers are saying this, and Queen Elizabeth II. Um, is it going to be affected big time? Because he also wants to curtail the lumber industry.
All right. That's not good either. Okay. I mean, oil and gas and lumber are very big, big, big commodities for Canada. Actual things contributing to the GDP. So if they're, affected significantly, that's going to affect the economy for sure. Um, okay. What was I going to ask? So what are the major industries that will be most affected by his term over the next 4 years?
What major industries are going to be most affected by his term over the next 4 years? Just about every industry. Education, I'm getting very strong. I don't know, they're just throwing words at me. What are you saying about the education? The education is going to go down, okay? A lot of the money that goes into education, healthcare, social services, welfare services, things like that, he's going to have to strip a lot of funding from all of these places in order to fuel or to fund his ideas, is what I'm getting. Now, what about the indigenous populations in Canada? Are they going to be affected as well? Yes.
Oh,
They're going to be some of the hardest hit
yeah, they usually are.
communities
Mm,
in the country.
yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so so the agenda then I'm assuming is his green agenda, is that correct?
Is the agenda the green? Yes, he is eco green. He wants to do away with, so is he going to try to get rid of all gas powered vehicles? That would be his ideal. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, because those big trucks that are doing deliveries back and forth across Canada and back and forth across the US border, they can't handle going long distances is what I'm getting on EV. But the common citizen, the everyday citizen, is he going to force them into, yes, he's going to force them into electric vehicles.
Wow. So is he going to be doing that through like tax incentives or like economic incentives or disincentives for the average person to buy all electric?
Is he going to do that through incentives? No, through mandates.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. I
Uh,
don't think he's just going to be there for 4 years, by the way, for whatever your terms are up there, 4 to 5
okay.
years.
So
I
he's going
think
to
he's gonna serve
serve
two
back to back.
terms,
Yeah, back to back. Okay.
2 terms back to back. Absolutely, he will.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to part 2 of this video. We've got a lot of questions here. I have a feeling, I have a lot of questions of my own, so it's going to be quite in depth. We haven't even got to some of our other friends we brought up on the screen. So you definitely want to tune into this. If you're Canadian or even if you're American, this is going to have, worldwide implications for sure. So tune in. And to do that, you need to become a Patreon member. Go over to Patreon, remote viewing and beyond, and support us for a few dollars a month. We hope to see you there.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, this is going to be a big probe. I can feel it already. All right, we'll see you on the flip side. Thank you.
Thank you.